The brand new sci-fi TV show Dark Matter, people can actually change the past by literally entering an alternate reality. Have some questions about how all that works? So did we. Our Phil Lipof sat down with the star, Joel Edgerton.
Something happened to me, but you wouldn't believe me if I told you. Everything has changed.
Hey, thanks for sitting down and doing this with us.
Absolute pleasure.
Dark Matter is based on this fabulously successful sci-fi thriller. But talk to me about your character. Lay it out for us.
The book itself speaks to these things that I think about a lot, which is what about our accumulative choices and where they've led us, and would we be curious to take a peek at a life that we might have lived if we'd have done certain big other things or even little other things. But I play the character of Jason Dessen in a couple of different incarnations, one of whom has sort of chosen to stop short of pursuing his real dreams and goals in life of sort of research in the science field, to pull up short, partly because of a situation of grief in the family, but also because of the responsibilities of having to look after a family. Whereas where the show takes an interesting turn is we're going to meet another version of that same man who chose to turn his back on the opportunity of having a family and lead a very selfish, self-serving life of pursuing his dreams and building this technology. And I will say along the way, I don't think the show is trying to tell us that having a family means you got to give up on your dream.
So your character, you play more than one character.
Yeah. I think by the end of the series, there were upwards of 20 versions of the same man.
What's that like?
Well, it's interesting, you know, when I was coming out the series initially, I thought, all right, well, how different are these men? And the answer really is that they're all the same. Linsey Davis, who is in the show, plays Amanda, said this wonderful thing, that we're all essentially in the show kind of the same base, the same trunk of the tree. Our core values are the same. It's just different experiences have added a certain dimension to our personality or our demeanour or outlook on life. You know, for example, grief can carve its own scars into you. Success can maybe add its own swagger to you, and responsibility of family maybe changes you a little bit, whereas leading a bachelor's sort of self-serving, wealthy career life might etch you in a different way. So there were subtle differences, but the core is the same.
This was originally supposed to be a film. Were there challenges adapting it to a show?
There was. I think, you know, for years, Blake, the author and screenwriter and showrunner, he did everything, amazing man. There was a world where they had tried to develop this into a film, but I think it's so crammed with stuff that you would end up with a film that was really heavy on plot and less exploring of character and the nuance that we get to do in the show.
And that's really so important in something like this. Is your character. There has to be character development in order for you to care about the life choices that he took or didn't take, right?
And it's one of the wonderful things about television that really changed my mind. I used to love watching television, never used to really want to be a part of acting in television. I think it was always because I felt like I had to sign a 7-year contract. And I like exploring different worlds, you know. But this idea that television in a relative short form gives you 8 or 9 or 10 hours to explore character in a deeper way than you might otherwise do in an hour and a half or 2 hours of the contents of a film. And you really get to understand the backstories and lives of these characters really deeply through multiple parallel spaces, you know.
You keep coming back to the character rather than just having an initial interaction.
And as we parcel this out week by week, there's this feeling also, I think, that people sit around imagining what is going to come next. So they either talk about it with family or friends, or they think about what the possible turns the show is going to take next. So you do spend even more hours than actual watching. I'll tell you what, though, it's easier to watch TV than to make it.
It was beautiful. We loved it.
You had said in the beginning that, you know, this isn't a commentary on whether having a family or not having a family, or one path is better than another path, or the grass is greener.
Who are you?
I live here with you.
But I'm wondering, when things like this are made and a novel like this is written, there's always sort of an agenda. I'm wondering, what do you want people, or less of an agenda, what do you hope people will come away from this with?
For me, and I can only really speak to my experience, and I hope other people share this too, is that I hope that it gives you a new perspective on your own life as you sort of quietly ruminate on your own situation and your own choices, that you can kind of see at least some of the areas that you maybe should have more gratitude for than you otherwise might. All the things that I thought I used to regret is that I realise I don't. Because everything that I am today, and I'm pretty okay with who I am today, is an accumulation of every experience I've had.
Really compelling concept. Our thanks to Phil and Joel for the conversation. You can stream Dark Matter on Apple TV+.